Hey everyone, today we're on page 36. So let's take a look, a quick reminder about order of operations. We did this last chapter, GEMDAS or GEMDAS. The G, remember, stands for grouping. E is exponents. Then multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and that's the order that is proper to do mathematical simplification. Okay, and so like we in this little quick check box, if you had 8 minus 3 times 4, true or false, the first step is to do 8 minus 3. And the answer is false because that's subtraction, and then we have to do multiplication first. So now we look at part B here. Which of these is correct? I've got 8 minus 3 times 4, and the 3 times 4 becomes 12, so 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Or is it 8 minus 3 times 4 is, because we have negative 3 times 4 is negative 12 minus negative. And the correct answer is the one on the left. Okay, there's only one minus sign, so it still stays 8 minus 12, which is negative 4. Now, let's take a look a little lower on the page here. And we've got some of these charts here. Okay. Now, what we're really doing here is we are describing the order of operations based on what happens to the x value. Okay, so let's look at the first two charts, and then we'll try to fill out these next two. Okay, so 2x plus 5 equals 11. Okay, so based on what is happening to the x value, the first thing, order of operations, is it's multiplied by 2. Okay, so we have x is multiplied by 2, is in the first box, and then we would add 5, so plus 5, and then that thing is going to equal 11. So equals 11. Right? So it's what is happening to x. So here, in x over 4 minus 8 equals 2, I've got x divided by 4. The first thing that happens, I don't subtract first, I divide. So x gets divided by 4 first. It's the first thing that happens to it. And then it is subtracted by 8. And then that equals 2. So let's try to do this one here. I've got negative 4x plus 7 equals 27. The first thing that happens is it's multiplied by negative 4. So I'm going to write a little dot for multiplication, not an x, negative 4. So times negative 4. That's the first thing that happens. And then we add 7. And that whole thing now equals 27. So I want you to pause the video and try to fill in this last chart on your own, and then we'll compare. All right, how'd you do? First thing that happens is we divide by 6. X gets divided by 6 first, then it's 4 is subtracted, and it equals negative 5. Flip the page when you're ready. So on here, what we're doing now is when we're trying to work backwards, essentially, when we're solving an equation, because we know the end result, so we can work backwards and solve for x. So the way this works is using what we talked about the first video, inverse operations. So again, we're doing 2x plus 5 equals 11. So if we go down the first chart here, x gets multiplied by 2, it adds 5, and the answer is 11. So when we start with 11, we're going to do inverse operations for each of these. So the inverse operation of plus 5 is minus 5. And the inverse operation of times 2 is dividing by 2. So now what we're going to do is do the math going up the chart. We can see this arrow going up the chart here. So the first thing it says to do is 11 minus 5, which if you do 11 minus 5, you get 6. And then it says to take that answer and divide it by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And so my answer is x equals 3. So like let's write it off to the side here. 11 minus 5 equals 6, and then 6 divided by 2 equals 3. And that's my answer. That's what x equals. We get x equals 3. And if we, let's see, did that work? So let's check our answer. 2x plus 5 equals 11. If I plug in 3, I should get 11. 2 times 3 plus 5 is 6 plus 5, which is 11. We're happy, it worked. Okay, so this doing the inverse operations helps us solve the equation. Let's try again with this next problem here. X over 4 minus 8 equals 2. We've already got the chart filled out on the left of what happens to x. First it's divided by 4, then we subtract 8, and the result is 2. So now we need our inverse operations. Let's fill it out. Inverse of minus 8 would be plus 8. And inverse of divide by 4 would be times 4. So now we're going to do the math. Going back up the chart. We start with 2 and we do the inverse of plus 8. So 2 plus 8 equals 10. And then I have to multiply by 4. So times 4 equals 40. And so now I get my answer of x equals 40. And again, let's check it out. Let's see if it works. X over 4 minus 8 equals 2. So if I plug in 40 divided by 4 minus 8, that is 10 minus 8, which is 2, which is what we wanted. All right, let's turn the page. So a way to think about this is that we're kind of unwrapping x when we use inverse operations. And by doing that, we get our answer. So here, this time you're going to fill out the chart for x. What happens to x? In negative 4x plus 7 equals 27. First, we get multiplied by negative 4. Next, x gets added 7. And finally, the result is 27. So now to solve it, we go backwards. We start at the bottom. We start with 27, and I do my inverse operations. Inverse of plus 7 is minus 7. Inverse of times negative 4 is divided by negative 4. And so now let's do that math. Negative 27 minus 7 is 20. And then 20 divided by negative 4 would equal negative 5. And so we get the answer, x equals negative 5. Now, some of you have learned an algebraic method. Let's kind of tie this together. I want you to see this, how they connect. So I'm going to, just like we were doing in the first video, draw my line down there. And it says the first thing we do, again, we have to undo adding or subtracting. So plus 7 is there, we subtract 7. And so now I have negative 4x, because the 7 minus 7 is 0, cancels out, equals 27 minus 7 is 20. And now it says negative 4 times x. To undo that, I divide by negative 4 on both sides, and x equals negative 5. So same answer, but this chart process can kind of help us understand why we're doing things in the order that we do. So if I would recommend, try pausing the video, and why don't you try to do the chart process for x over 6 minus 4 equals negative 5. Okay, if you started with x chart, you should have divided by 6 minus 4 equals negative 5. I forgot my equal sign there. Equals negative 5. So then, to go in the reverse order, we know we start at negative 5, minus 4, inverse is plus 4, divide by 6, inverse is times 6. And when we go up like that, I have negative 5 plus 4, which is negative 1. And then times 6 is negative 6. And so that's my answer. X equals negative 6. If we did it algebraically, it would look like this. I have to do the inverse of minus 4 first, so I'm going to do plus 4 on both sides. So I get x over 6 equals negative 1. And now, undoing division, we multiply both sides by 6, and we get x equals negative 6. Okay. We're going to try to use the chart method a good amount because it's a really helpful way to think about it. Okay. We'll keep practicing both ways. That is all. Thanks for watching.